Hey, what's up guys, it's BenBonk and welcome back to the 29th Slimekeep Devlog. In this devlog I added in a new shop system and created a new boss for the game. Also, if you're new here, Slimekeep is a fast-paced roguelike where you must kill and capture slimes to stop the corruption that has infected your land. Without further ado, let's get into it. First up, I had a few things to wrap up with the new capture system from the last devlog. I implemented a system to get the capture difficulty to scale the difficulty of the slime that you're capturing. So the slime will panic with more force, and will panic more often as difficulty increases. In game, here's the player capturing a weak slime, and as you can see, it's pretty easy to do so. But if we go over here and capture this more powerful slime, things get a lot more difficult. Next up, I got a lot of feedback in the last devlog about the circle dragging system for capturing. Some people liked the idea, but I'd say a lot more people disliked it, and I agree, so I ended up removing this system. Now, I think things are quite better and more fluid, so that's nice. Moving on, I noticed quite a few bugs with the capture system, such as the player not being able to capture a slime once failing to capture, which would happen if the player didn't let go of the mouse button, so I just fixed this issue up. And the final issue with this capture system was this circle outline effect. I got a lot of really good feedback from you guys on how you didn't like this effect and how a vignette and zoom in effect would look better. So I decided to try this out and ended up with this as a replacement. I really like how this looks, so let me know what you think. But yeah, that's all for the capture system for now. However, I still just had a few more things to work on before getting to create some really cool new systems for the game, so hang with me for just a second. First up, I got some feedback about this laser slime and how the laser just didn't look too good, so I made some changes to its laser sprites, giving them more defined endpoints. I also created this intro and exit animation for the laser as in polish, which I think looks pretty nice. So yeah, some nice improvements to the laser slime there. Next up, I wanted to work on this teleportation puddle a bit, as right now I think it just felt a little slow and sluggish to actually use. So I worked on cutting down some of the animation times and ended up with this, which just feels a lot faster and more responsive. Next, I was just a little unsure on what to work on, so I decided to set up the prices for these weapons in the game, as all of them just had temporary prices, so I wanted to make sure to fix this and actually try to get the game as playable as soon as possible. I did the same thing for all the upgrades in the game, so yeah, you can now see that all the weapons in the game cost a bit more, and so did the upgrades. I kinda just guessed this amount of how much each upgrade and weapon should cost, so these numbers aren't final or anything, but it's something to start with. Moving on, as I was doing a bunch more playtesting, I realized that the game really needed a way to easily allow the player to purchase necessities such as health, ammo, and battery. I always had the idea in the back of my head to have a computer shop where the player could order items online, and right now this just sounded like a cool solution to me, so I got to work. I started off by returning to a project of mine from over 2 years ago titled Hacker Game. Now, unfortunately, I have no plans to return to this project, but at least I can still get some use out of it as it contains this rough draft of a computer screen. So I took this computer screen, mainly just the art, and popped it into Slimekeep. So if the player presses E on this computer in their room, this screen will pop up, and the player can press escape or E again to exit the computer. I then added these two icons, one for a browser and one where I plan to let the player play the jam version of Slimekeep if I end up getting to work on that. But for now, if the player presses the browser button, it'll open this browser window and take them to slimazon.web, which is definitely not a reference to anything. You also notice that in the bottom right corner of the screen, I got the player's actual time and date set up, so that's kinda neat. But moving on, I then just got to working on the actual shop mechanics. The plan here was that the shop would always offer ammo, battery, and health to the player. Though every new day in the shop would also sell a random weapon and upgrade for the player to potentially buy. So that's a cool idea, but you may be wondering why would anyone go to a real shop in game if they can just buy everything from slimazon.web? The answer is that purchasing items online comes in at a more expensive price comparing to buying the items in person. So my goal is to make this shop a viable option if the player needs to get their hands on ammo or health, for example, but not the ideal solution. Additionally, on top of the upmarked price, I planned on making so that the shop would take a day to deliver items instead of the player just instantly be able to purchase items and receive them. I really like this concept and how it should hopefully make the player think about their purchases. Anyways, after a bit of work, I had this. I set up all the UI, which I think looks great, and I also made the shop randomly generate an upgrade and a weapon. Additionally, the player could also actually click on these items to purchase them, adding them to a list of items to deliver, but I didn't actually have this delivery system set up yet. Then I added a message if the player didn't have enough slime balls to purchase an item, and yeah, in retrospect, I probably need to display the number of slime balls the player has here. Anyways, I got to work on the actual delivery system and made this package sprite that has this neat little idle jump animation, as well as an open animation. In game, I just set this package up so if the player pressed E near the package, they would open up the package. Then I actually worked on communicating between the shop and this package. So we have this package here, and I'm going to go inside the house and purchase these 3 items. The player's slime ball mount now gets updated, and if you go back outside and open the package, these 3 items will fly out, and eventually the package will just fade away. The player could then pick up these items and weapons as normal, which is pretty neat. And that right there is the new shop system. I'm a big fan, but let me know what you think. Personally, I think that you should wishlist Slimekeep on Steam. We actually just ended up breaking over 10,000 wishlists, so that's incredible, and thank you to everyone who has wishlisted the game so far. But the more the merrier, so please consider taking a minute to wishlist the game if you still haven't already. Next up, I was looking for things to do, and I realized that I hadn't made any level graphs or room templates for the harder days in the game. So I spent a while making a ton more level graphs for the game, so there can actually be harder difficulty days. So now you can see the player can just sleep all the way up to day 16. That's all the days I think there will be in the game because it just works out with the difficulty progression I had in mind for these rooms. Now moving on, I'll be honest, I was kind of confused on what to work on. I feel like the game is really starting to come together, it's just kind of hard to decide on what the best move is to work on next. I definitely know the game needs a lot of balancing, so maybe a demo could be a viable option within the next few months, but no promises or anything. So while thinking on what to do, I knew that the game will always need a few more bosses, so I figured to work on just that. As for what boss to add, I recalled that alternate tester in my Discord server had made a full-blown chopper boss concept named Lazarus. Now this was just way too cool for me to pass up on, so I got to work turning this art into an actual boss in Slimekeep. Starting off, alternate tester had created a bunch of little parts for this boss that would all come together in the end. So I imported all these parts into Sprite, fiddled around with them a bit, and exported them as sprite sheets into Unity. With all these parts in Unity and ready to go, I started putting the pieces together. For example, this super cool blade and a bunch of the weapons. Altogether, we have this base, this blade launcher, these laser guns, these rocket launchers, and these machine guns. I then worked on setting up all the basic mechanics for this boss, so now Lazarus has his own room, health bar, and can actually take damage. This was nice, but it's now time to actually make some logic for this boss. I had the idea to make Lazarus move randomly around the top half of the room every few seconds, so I put this idea to life pretty easily with tweening, and now this boss was starting to feel alive. But this room needed some work, as sometimes you couldn't really see the boss, so I locked the camera and zoomed it out a bit to solve this issue. But with those few things done, it was time to actually create some attacks. First up, I wanted to work on this blade launcher attack, and I basically copied the exact same logic from Slimeking's deleted shuriken attack. If you know, you know, so yeah. This blade just gets launched in a random direction. However, unlike the shurikens, these blades have a specified number of bounces, and once colliding with the wall, these bounces will tick down and eventually destroy the blade. So yeah, that's the blade launcher attack right there, nothing too crazy. But something that is too crazy is this laser attack that I was about to work on. I started off by making these lasers appear and just kind of randomly move around. This was a start, but after messing around more, I just wasn't too happy with this system. So I decided to restart and make all these laser attacks pre-made and randomly chosen. So here are all the new attacks on screen. Pretty cool stuff, and hopefully this system should allow the player to memorize the attack patterns and become better at dodging attacks. But I still wasn't 100% done with this attack. I added in these attack indicators, and now we were done. But if you want to get something done yourself, check out Skillshare, who is sponsoring today's video. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of online classes and members across 150 countries. It's a great place to learn all sorts of new skills in a variety of topics. Personally, I decided to check out this course on how to turn a Raspberry Pi into a CCTV system by Jamie Gregg. I've had this Raspberry Pi for a few years now that's just been sitting around gathering dust, so I want to take the opportunity to actually learn how to create something cool with it. This short course showed me some of the basics of the Raspberry Pi and how to turn it into an actual camera. By the end, I created this. I was able to set up the camera and host it on my own local network. It's really cool to see I was finally able to get some use out of this Raspberry Pi and learn a bit about it along the way. So if you have a skill you want to learn, the first 1,000 people to use the link in the description or use my code on screen will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So invest in yourself and your personal growth with Skillshare. But before moving on to the next attack, I posted this laser attack to my Discord server for feedback. Link in the description by the way, and Alternate Tester, the creator of this boss concept, made me realize that I had the chopper blade in the wrong place, that I should keep all the weapons active at all times during the fight, instead of enabling them and disabling them like I was planning to do. So in Unity, I fixed the location of the blade and added in all these weapons, which made the boss look so much better. In game, here's what this looked like. You also might notice that I added in a little idle bob up and down for this boss to make him feel a bit more alive. Moving on, it was now time to work on the next attack. This attack was the machine gun attack, which would just release a spray of bullets towards the player's location. I kinda just went head under and created this attack and just set everything up, so now the player needs to dodge these incoming projectiles. So there we go, attack done. But before moving on to the next attack, I got some feedback that I should fix the cracks on the boss's health bar, as it just looked really weird. So I just removed these cracks, which helps a ton in my opinion. On to the next attack, we had the rocket launcher attack. We already had the art for the rockets made, but I just needed to make a quick explosion effect. So So I grabbed this explosion animation that I made a while ago and touched it up a bit. I then worked on the logic for these rockets, and after a while more development, the attack was pretty much done. The boss would launch 4 rockets that would move towards the player's location with an offset, giving them a bit of unpredictability, and room for the player to dodge. And with that attack done, that was pretty much all the main attacks done for this boss. But we weren't done just yet. I wanted to make a little last stand death effect, so I got to work with plans to have the boss explode, fall to the ground, and create a pulse sort of attack upon dying. After a bit of work, we had this. When the boss runs out of health, it'll move towards the center of the room, do this explosion effect, and drop to the ground all broken up, releasing this shockwave very similar to the Slime King's ground pound attack. So there we go. Maybe it's a bit scuffed, but I'll take it nonetheless. Now, this boss was almost done, so I shared it to my Discord server and got some feedback that it might be too easy, and a cool difficulty solution would be to increase the speed or difficulty of attacks as the boss fight goes on. So I worked on this for a bit and made a ton of changes to the attacks to get them to act a tad different if the boss was below half health. For example, these blades will bounce a bit more and a bit faster, these rockets will move a bit faster, and same goes with the machine gun and laser gun attacks. So with that said, that's kind of the boss right there. Overall, I really like it, so let me know what you think. And yeah, there we go, a lot of great progress here. But that's all from me for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.